Hey guys, welcome to another video. Today we'll be talking about the hero Brody.
Welcome to Mobile Legends.
Brody's passive makes his basic attack slower but deals more damage. Upon hitting the enemy, it inflicts 1 stack of Abyss Mark and slow effect on the enemy, and it also gives Brody more movement speed. When Brody attacks a target that already has an Abyss Mark, he will deal more damage to the target. Brody's first skill launches a shockwave in one direction, dealing damage to all the enemies inside the wave, slowing them and applying 1 stack of Abyss Mark. The more enemies inside the wave, the more damage it will deal to the enemies, and slowing them and applying more Abyss Marks to them. Brody's second skill makes him dash towards an enemy and stunning them for 1 second. You can then point the movement wheel in a direction so you can move in that direction, and you will gain slight movement speed when you do so. Brody's ultimate makes him lock onto all targets within 8 yards, which is the circle around him, and he will deal damage to them according to the number of Abyss Marks on them and the HP that they have lost. Once Brody has locked onto the target, it does not matter whether the target is still within Brody's circle or whether Brody has ran away from him, he will still damage the enemy. I like to call Brody a brainless hero because once you have understood his mechanics, his skills allow him to become a damage dealing monster. So he doesn't really need a lot of skill in order to be used, so a lot of beginners should be able to use him very well even in ranked games. Brody is best used as a jungler or as a gold laner because of the fact that he clears lanes and kills creep monsters very fast. I have seen some people use him as a support because he can stun and slow people and his damage is insane even as a support. So he is possibly used there, but I wouldn't recommend it. This is my emblem and build. Personally, when I use Brody, I run out of mana very quickly, which is why I use Endless Battle for the mana regen. Some people might not want to build that. Some people might want to go for the BOD or the Bloodlust X first. Another option you have if you don't want to build Endless Battle is the Thunder Belt, so that you get some physical defense and mana regen at the same time. Brody mainly damages enemies through his skills, which is why Bloodlust X is considered one of his core items. You might see that my jungler build doesn't use the Bloodlust X. That's because I prefer to go for pure damage in the early game, but you can consider prioritizing the Bloodlust X first. The last point that I have about Brody's build is that he doesn't need a lot of attack items. Most of his damage comes from the stacks that he creates on enemies, and then he uses his ult to try to kill them. So you can just choose to build 3 attack items and then 2 defense items on him, and if that's not good enough for you, actually 2 attack items will actually suffice, and then build him all tanky because he will still deal enough damage. For Brody's spells, I would recommend getting one of these 3. Between Aegis and Flicker, I think it really depends on your playstyle. If you feel that you are building a little bit more tanky and you just want a bit more survivability, then actually Aegis is better. Flicker is for when those people that don't really know how to run away properly and they really need that Flicker so that they can make that final push to run away. Purify is very simple. Basically, there's a very huge CC team on the other side, then maybe Purify is the best option that you have. Now without further ado, let's get into the gameplay. For the type of Retribution that Brody should take, I personally don't think he needs the Flame and the Bloody Retribution, so I always go for my favorite, the Ice Retribution, so that I can run away faster or possibly chase an enemy even faster. This first game that I'm about to show you is a particularly difficult game. It was very hard because the enemies snowballed from the start of the game and they managed to hold on their dominance until late game, but we still managed to make a comeback. So I just wanted my viewers to take a look so that we can point out some of the mistakes that we made and some of the good things that we did so that we could make that comeback. So right here I made my first mistake. Brody, no matter what role that he is playing, he should always try to farm to try to get his ultimate as soon as possible. Only with his ultimate does he become a threat in the game. Even though early game his damage is still quite strong, but here we were up against Alucard and Patito, 2 very sturdy heroes. Without my ultimate, I definitely couldn't kill them at all. When you're a squishy hero like a marksman or a mage, don't put yourself in a position so close to enemy territory when you cannot run away, especially when you have already used up your skills. Against a hero that like Alucard that can burst you down so quickly, it's quite a bad decision to do that. Sometimes it's okay to give up the turtle as long as you know that you are sacrificing it for a reason. In this case, I didn't want to die needlessly because I saw that the entire trio was there. So it would have been brainless to actually go in to try to get that thing, especially when Alucard was already at a 5 kill streak and had so much more gold than us. Here I wanted to kill the Karina because I saw a Hayabusa was nearby, but Karina is the best at bursting people down, especially when they're at low health. When you're at half a bar, it's best not to go against a Karina at all. When your team is down in the early game, don't worry, just continue to farm, especially if you're the jungler or the marksman. Continue to farm and get your gold to get your equipment. Once you are equipped with all these things, you will be in a better position to fight. Likewise, if you're not playing the carry role and you are not leading in gold or EXP, then don't go and pick a fight. Like my Popol over here, picking fights, he already has 4 deaths, so there's really no reason for him to put himself in a position where he's fighting and trying to kill some enemy. Just go and provide vision and continue farming. Right here as a tank, this Popol should not be helping me. Instead, he should be providing vision by putting his traps around and roaming so that he can help other lanes try to push their lanes a little bit more, but he's not. He's trying to help me take the jungle, which there's no reason for him to do so at all. If you're trying to steal the turtle, always focus on the turtle's HP. If you can't do that, then just get out of there because you probably can't win, especially in this kind of situation. At this point, my team was a bit demotivated. We had already lost our towers on both sides and we were losing the game in terms of goal and experience. But looking at the team composition, there was always a chance of a comeback. For Brody and Vale and sometimes even Cho, they're all very late game heroes. They can always make a comeback in the final minutes. Their heroes such as Alucard and Paquito were all very early game heroes, so definitely in the early game, if they can manage to push on, they will definitely win, but we still stood a chance. When you're a tank on a losing team in this kind of situation, go and provide vision for your damage dealers, for your hyper. Don't go and clear the lane and take all the gold and experience. Your team is already down in gold and you're still trying to take it when you are not the one dealing damage to the enemies. So know your role and know what you need to do so that you can try to provide the best situation for your entire team. I think the best thing to do when your back's against the wall and you're stuck in your base defending is to stay there and stay near your towers so that you can potentially get a comeback win when the enemies get cocky or when they tower dive you because you're protected by your tower. When you're in a losing position and you see that Lord is coming, come back to the base to defend it with the rest of your team. But Hayabusa was off pushing. Yes, pushing is a good thing, but in this case you could see that it's a 5-man invasion and you are not a hero that is equipped in taking bases and to take down towers fast. So why are you doing that? Come back and defend the base and potentially get some kills over here. As games go on, try to notice what your enemies like to do. In this case, I knew the Guinevere just wants to just dive all of us. So when we're all together, I knew that he would try to jump on us. And that's why I backed away as soon as I can. When you're placed in a position where you have to decide whether to take the Lord or to take down towers, you need to think about how many towers there are to take and what are your heroes equipped to do. In this case, there was no reason for us to take towers because we could definitely not have taken down the entire tower by the time the enemies revive, because their revive time is not that long anyway. To me, it was a perfectly good decision to try to take the Lord, but my tank did not think so. He was not built with attack speed items, so I don't know why he put himself in a position where he could be killed just at any moment. Always know what spell your enemies are carrying because they can kill you. I didn't realize the Torpedo was using Vengeance and I died to that. When you're in the late game, all you can try to do is just to push the lanes and to pressure the enemies as much as possible, because if the lanes are being pushed, they will need to defend and they cannot just fight you. For example, in this case, you can see that my middle lane was pushing towards the tower already, and the enemy team actually realized that, which is why they stopped their chase for Cho and went back to defend the tower instead. I want to make a point that if your team is trying to take the Lord, when you're running away from enemies, try not to run towards the Lord. Run anywhere else except the Lord so that they will not try to steal the Lord. If they didn't know that the Lord was being taken in the first place, there is an entire possibility that you can try to take the Lord and win the game. But if you run straight towards the Lord, then the enemy is going to know that, hey, they're taking the Lord, we're going to try to steal it instead. And in that case, you should try to abandon the Lord and then try to reset it so that nobody tries to get the Lord. In late games, you have to be aware of your entire team's whereabouts and where the enemy is. In this case, we saw that Cho and Popo were trying to take the back door, and their best wave clearers in Alucard and Paquito were here with us. So all we needed to do was try to keep them here with us so that they could not go back and defend. This was an absolutely frustrating game, but I'm so glad we won this and didn't give up in the end.
Victory!
In this game, we play Brody as a side laner.
Welcome to Mobile Legends!
In the early game, I really like to poke enemies when I play as Brody because his early game damage is actually really quite strong. Giving more stacks onto the enemies will allow you to deal a little bit more damage to them. I would like to apologize for the War X build here. Please don't build War X for Brody now. This was before the nerf of War X for marksmen, so now it's not actually a good idea for Brodies instead. Always be aware of early game invasion, especially when your enemies have heroes such as Tigreal, Grok, Jawhead. In this case, I saw that my Hayabusa was being harassed by Tigreal and my tank and mage were actually nowhere to be seen, so I decided to go over and try to help. But if you know you can't win and you're already at a disadvantage, it's always good to back away and then try to get out of there because there's no need to sacrifice too many lives in this case. When you're one-on-one laning against another hero, it's good to know what their skills are and to not poke them if you know that you cannot win. In this case, I know that Sylvana has her ult. It's not very smart for me to try to go and poke her and then go near her so that she can ult me, especially when I didn't have my Purify just a few seconds ago. Here I waited for Sylvana to use her ult before I used Purify, because I knew if I used it too early, she would probably have just ulted me and killed me straight away. Aiming your second skill is so important because it can get out of situations like that. This was definitely a fluke, but it still managed to help me get out of that situation. Once you have taken down the tower, start to roam so that you can try to help your team gain an advantage in other lanes. Always remember that your ult needs some time to charge, so don't always assume that you will get it off before you die. I just want to say, don't pick Sun against enemies that are high spell vamp reliant. In this case, the Sun gave the Sylvana so much health that I couldn't even kill her at the end. When you have just taken Lord, I would not recommend for you to pick a fight without Lord because it provides the best chance for you to end this game if you actually try to kill with the Lord. Like I said previously, if you're in this kind of position, just try to hug your tower and try to push the lanes, defend the lanes. There's no need to be greedy like me here to try to go out and get a kill, because ultimately the chances of you dying is actually much higher. This game was another one of those where you need to be aware of where your teammates are. I saw that my Sun was arriving, so all I needed to do was keep the entire enemy team here. So I just used my ult to try to keep them here so that none of them could recall, and I kept the Bruno here and we managed to win in the end. I hope you enjoyed today's gameplay, and if you liked this video, please leave a like and subscribe and comment what other heroes you would like to see me play.